It's going to be fun, hopefully. Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I'm Cernex, clocking in by myself again because stuff happens. September was busy. She was out. We knew that she was going to be out today, but apparently Theo completely lost power because some dumb driver decided to run to a transformer, and not the cool kind that shape changes into stuff, the electrical transformer. So he doesn't have power. So obviously he can't be here to record. But we experimented a couple weeks ago with me doing this solo. I think it went well. So we're going to try it again. And today we're going to be talking about the Games Awards, which took place this past Thursday. So actually, let's go ahead and jump into our water cooler talk real quick.
You get that thing I sent you?
Yeah.
Yep, our water cooler talk is the Game Awards took place this Thursday. Okay, back to work.
Morning break is over.
Yeah, that's pretty much the big news, and we're going to be covering all the stuff from the Game Awards during this segment, so there's not really much point in me having to separate it out. Anyways, but before I get back to work, I did want to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/PTGcast. If you happen to like the somewhat insane ramblings coming from my mouth, and you would like to help us out with a little bit of money, help pay our paychecks each month, you can do that over at patreon.com/PTGcast. I really do appreciate it. Anyways, with that, like I said, we're going to be talking about the Game Awards this past week, and I'm going to try, just for the sake of my own sanity. It's really kind of weird. Now that for people watching the video, I have the screen a little bit wider now, so you can actually see me talk with my hands and stuff, because most of the time you can't. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to try to, just for the sake of my own train of thought, I'm going to try to break it up into I'm going to start off with the awards themselves, what kind of the highlights and the lows of the awards themselves. Then I want to talk about the announcements, which is actually the part I'm most excited about. And then I want to talk about a couple of key highlights of the presentation itself, and go from there. So that's kind of the structure I'm going to go for with this episode. And I don't know how long this episode's going to be. Again, just because it's me solo, I tend to talk pretty quick. So it might be a little bit shorter episode. Just depends. I'll try to give you as much content as I can. But starting off with the awards themselves, unlike the Game Awards, I like to start with just the Game of the Year, which was this year was Astrobot. And Astrobot was, if there was any one single game that kind of took the night, it was Astrobot, which I can't really say a whole lot about because I haven't played it. I haven't watched it played. I know nothing about this game whatsoever. I don't have a PlayStation, so it just didn't even come across my radar. From what little I've seen of just advertisements and trailers and just little bits and pieces of it, it seems pretty cool. It seems kind of like the PlayStation's answer to Mario, in a sense, or along those lines. So, and that's a successful formula. Mario is obviously very successful, so kind of going along that same formula is probably a good idea. And I've heard from a couple people that I trust, specifically Scott Johnson, that he feels that Astrobot has kind of become the Mario type mascot for PlayStation, which seems fairly accurate. It seems to be a pretty, obviously because it got Game of the Year, it's a pretty popular game. It seems to be well done. In addition to Game of the Year, it also took 4 other categories. Best game direction. Took best game direction. Where are the other ones? I'm looking at the list right now. Best action adventure game, best family game, and what was the last one? I think I missed one. but yeah, it took 4 categories. Oh, those were the 4 categories: Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Action Adventure, and Best Family Game. And it seems to fit pretty well in all of those. Again, especially Family Game because it is kind of a Mario like to a degree. Um, so if there was any one game that kind of took the night for the awards, which even in this sense, like in past years, like Baldur's Gate 3 swept everything basically and took a bunch of awards. 4 awards is the most any one game took for the night, which is seems actually relatively low for these kinds of things, because there was a lot of really big titles, really you know just really impactful games, like the other games of the Game of the Year, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Rings, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was on the list of that, and Metaphor ReFantazio, which again is another game that I've never played. I haven't played it. I haven't seen any gameplay of it, just like very brief snippets of it. It's an anime style game. I I think is by I think it was by the same people who have done like the Persona series. I think it's from them as well. I could be mistaken, but I don't know. I've seen very vague snippets of it, but all of these games are pretty big titles. Especially like having a Final Fantasy game, having an Elden Ring game in there. But one I did actually skip over one other game, which I think is one of the real winners this night. Even though it won 3 awards instead of 4, like Astrobot did. And also, every time I say Astrobot, I want to say Astro Boy. 1 letter difference every time, because Astro Boy is a very venerable anime series or character or whatnot. Every time I want to say Astro Boy, but it's Astrobot. One other game that I think really took the night. It was really impressive. It won 3 awards, and was nominated for Game of the Year as well as Best Game Direction, and a couple, I think 1 or 2 other ones. Was Balatro. I think Balatro really is the big winner of the night. It won for Best Debut Indie, Best Indie Game, and Best Mobile Game. And it was nominated for a couple, I think, 2 other categories, including Game of the Year. So, I mean, for being an independent game, came out this year, obviously, and it was a solo developer. That's just so impressive. The fact that the solo developer just made up came up with this concept of, I have another game that I've not have. That's one thing about this is there's a lot of these games on the list here that I have not actually played through, that I've only seen kind of vague gameplay of, so I'm not familiar with absolutely all of these games. But from what I've seen of Balatro, it's almost like a deck building poker game. It uses poker hands, not actually poker. But you can add jokers. Jokers have different effects, and you're basically just trying to get as many points as you can out of this deck of cards, using poker hands and such like that. So it's one of those just very simple concepts that just clicks with people. And this Balatro will be a game that I get, especially since it's on mobile. It seems very friendly in that fashion where, it seems like a game that I can just kind of pull out on my phone while I'm at work, play, however long I can until I need to start doing something, pause it, go do something, what I need to do, come back to it. Very much seems like that kind of game, which is great for the kind of work that I do. And it just seems like a very easy game to get into. Granted, I think the Best Game Direction and what was still trying to see on here where it was. His Best Game Direction was, duh. Yeah, Best Game Direction, Game of the Year, duh. Those were the 2 categories that was nominated in that did not win, and both of those it was beaten by Astrobot. So, this is I think that I believe the developer goes by the name Local Thunk is what he has on there. Uh, I think he that is going to be a huge boon to him, being nominated for Game of the Year from this little indie game that he made, winning 3 awards out of the Game Awards. I thought that was really good. The only other game this year that got 3 awards was Metaphor ReFantazio, which again I have barely even seen any kind of gameplay for. Uh, and yeah, but that won best narrative, best art direction, and what was the last one? Best RPG. It won those 3 categories this year, and you know that was those are like the big winners of the night. Again, I still think Balatro is like the big winner, even though it didn't get Game of the Year. The fact that it was nominated uh, against all these other like big name, like again going up against big name titles like Elden Ring, which won last year, or not? Was it last year? Year before, one year before. It won awards, going up against Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. These big name titles being a contender for Game of the Year, with that just solo developer indie game is phenomenal, and I think it really shows how indie games are kind of taking the market by storm. You have the occasional big AAA title that is successful, like Astrobot in this case. Is one of it's by PlayStation, or at least published by PlayStation. So you have these bigger name titles that are have tons of developers behind them and everything like that. Yeah, they look fantastic. The gameplay could even be really good, but it's still so much more impressive to see a solo developer, an indie studio making a game that by comparison doesn't appear as good as some of these other games, but the game is just fun. And that I think is a key part of all of this, is just make a fun game and people will gravitate towards it. It doesn't matter how it looks. There's a bunch of good examples of this. Like Balatro, you got Loop Hero is another popular one that actually strives for that retro aesthetic. You have games like Slay the Spire, which doesn't look all that impressive, but the gameplay is just good. It's just fun to play. You got these games like that, and this really, I think, kind of shows that it's being just making a fun game to start off with, having that at the forefront will get you places. Start with the fun, the success will follow. And I definitely think Balatro is a good example of that. Some of the other like kind of notable ones that award winners I wanted to bring up. This one is in the category of no duh. Is the best score in music went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Basically, you put Final Fantasy in that category, regardless of what it is, it's going to win, because Final Fantasy is just known for its music. And another one that I was really excited for. We'll get into an announcement and stuff later on, something that happened later on with Helldivers 2. They took home 2 awards. They took Best Ongoing Game and Best Multiplayer Game. And for me, those are the correct answer. But what's impressive is, again, this is another independent studio published through PlayStation. They're going up against Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Fortnite, Final Fantasy 14. These are big titles, the juggernaut that is Fortnite. And they beat it. They won the award for Best Ongoing Game against those titles. That is impressive. And they've definitely gotten a new shot of adrenaline in the game, and we'll get into the reason behind that in a little bit later. But the Helldivers 2 is thriving again, and it is fantastic. Best ongoing game, best multiplayer game. Helldivers 2 is the correct answer for those games. Definitely. I'm kind of sad that it lost out to Best Action Game, but it lost out to Black Myth Wukong, which is another really big title. So I'm not really surprised by that as much as I wanted it to win. Another kind of interesting category is best adaptation. So this year we've had a couple different streaming adaptations of games. Two of which, the two biggest ones, I think, are Arcane and Fallout. And this is, I think, one of the first instances where they actually had someone competing against themselves in a category. So Ella Purnell voiced Jinx in Arcane and played wasn't Lucy? I don't remember what her name was in Fallout. And so she was actually kind of competing against herself in these two categories. I personally would have gone with Arcane, but Fallout took the award this year. Not really surprised. Fallout was also very, very good. And I think one of the reasons, like, I have opinions on the second season of Arcane. I still personally think the first season was much better than the second season. There are moments in the second season of Arcane that are great, that are fantastic. But overall, the story that was being told in season 2, I felt was much more disjointed. Whereas the story being told in Arcane season 1 was much more focused. And it was a very clear through line throughout the entire story of Arcane. And I think that is kind of why season 2 of Arcane faltered versus Fallout. Fallout being a first season and stuff, it had a very clear story throughout, and it was very well told. And it fits in the canon. It fits in the games and everything like that. Then the games already have a really strong narrative, and to have another story that also has a very strong narrative that still fits in those other narratives, I think was really well done. So yeah, Fallout took the best adaptation award this year. I'm not even going to bother with the creator esports, because I don't watch esports, so I have no idea who any of these people are. Good on them. Congrats. But yeah. Another kind of no duh category as most anticipated game, except for me, is Grand Theft Auto 6. With the success of previous Grand Theft Auto games, this is kind of not surprising to me, but I am in probably the vast minority of people who don't care about it. That's the thing about this year is there's a lot of games. There's also a lot of announcements and stuff that we'll get into in a little bit that either I have no familiarity with whatsoever, or I just plain don't care about. I'm weird when it comes to games a lot of times. So, but yeah. So that one, the one that another category that kind of surprised me, not because of the winner, but because of one of the other nominees, was best VR or AR game. I've heard of Arizona Sunshine, the remake. I've seen it on Steam. Every so often I look for VR games and stuff. Batman Arkham Shadow. That one actually I don't have access to because technically I do. It's on the Quest store, but it's not on Steam. And I refuse to buy games for the Quest specifically. I would much rather buy it on Steam. So this is one that I have not played. I've seen it played a little bit. It seems pretty cool. The one that on here that surprised me because I didn't know it existed. So in a previous month, I think, I don't know how long ago, it might have been actually a couple of years ago now, we did a month of rhythm games. I think it might have been the beginning of last year. It might have been the beginning of this year. I don't remember off the top of my head. But we did rhythm games. And one of the games that we talked about was Metal Hellsinger, which still is a phenomenal game. I think at the time I played it it was on Game Pass, and I think it has since left Game Pass, is one that I will probably have to pick up again on Steam at some point. But in this category of best VR, there's a Metal Hellsinger VR game. I didn't know that existed. until I saw it as one of the nominees, and I actually have it wish listed on my Steam account right now. At some point, I might try to give it out, or give it a try. I thought Metal Hellsinger was very well done. Of all the rhythm games that we talked about that month, I thought this one, Metal Hellsinger, was the best. Just the driving music, the way that the beat interacted with the gameplay, I thought was very well done. Um, you could, with the way the weapons were, you could really very easily time it to the beat. Like with the shotgun, it was like fire on one beat, reload on the second beat, fire again on the third beat, and going that on like that. I thought it was very well done, and I'm intrigued by trying to do that on VR. I've actually seen a couple of reviews on there that say that it's better than the flat screen version. People had difficulty playing the flat screen version, but have done a lot better with the VR version. So eventually, I might try to check that one out and give it a shot. Oh, there's not. I'm trying to think. Looking through this list, there's not really a whole lot of other standouts to me. Um, but yeah, so those are the most of the awards themselves. I have a list on here on IGN. You can look up all the winners and such. Oh, yeah, a lot of these are, either don't really impact me that much, or are kind of obvious. Uh, but bottom line, when it comes to the actual awards, I think Balatro is the big winner. Even though Astrobot took more awards, Balatro, just the fact that it took 3 awards, still was nominated for 2 more, and I good on them. This is a game I'm going to be getting at some point. When I can manage it. So those were the games themselves. Now I want to talk about the announcements, because some of these I am really looking forward to, and some of them I don't really care about. At least at this point, because they don't really show me anything. So some of the lesser ones, that I like, I know the name. I know that it's a big deal because of the name, but the game itself I'm not very familiar with. One is there's an unnamed Okami sequel. Uh, so I know Okami by name. I know it vaguely by gameplay. I know I think it was a motion control game where you had to actually paint on the screen, and that would affect uh, the things that you're doing throughout the world and such. They're making a sequel to that. I mean, it's, as far as I know, Okami is a pretty venerable game. It's been out for a while, and it's going to be interesting to see an addition to that series, especially now that we have the advancements. However long it's been. When did Okami come out? um, yeah, Okami came out almost 20 years ago. It came out in 2006. Uh, Very highly regarded, very very successful game. Uh, you know, 94% and everything. They're getting a sequel, so, and that's going to be kind of cool. Another one that I kind of know by name, but have not have not played with it at all, is Onimusha. So there's going to be a new Onimusha game that trying to find it on here. Where is it? That's not even on here. Cool. Oh, I love these lists that say, everything, all the announcements, and then it doesn't have one of the announcements on here. But yeah, there's going to be a new Onimusha game. That's another game that I'm familiar with just by title. Oh, I've never played an Onimusha game. It seems like a very interesting samurai style game. Oh, but yeah, have no interaction with it. So I'm gonna see if I can find another list. If I was more prepared and had someone else to talk with, oh, I would have, this would be good. But anyways, yeah, and and yeah, there's a couple other games on here that oh that are like venerable series, or like there's there's a there's there was a lot of announcements. There's a lot of games coming out soon. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, how? Oh, so like there's people familiar with what is it? I cannot think of the games. Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. They have a new game. They just showed a very brief teaser trailer of it. It's codenamed Project Robot right now, and so they are making a new game that's similar in style to that world. And Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are venerable titles. They are very successful titles. It is going to be interesting to see where this one goes, because it seems instead of a more like magical, like mystical world, it seems like it's going to be a much more technological world. I mean, you have a giant bit like it starts off with this guy climbing up the back of a giant stationary mech. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. Some of the other like big reveals that they have, there's going to be Witcher 4, which it's going to be interesting because it's not going to be Geralt in this one. It's going to be Ciri. This one, I know that this is another one that I know is a big deal. Just by osmosis, I know that Witcher is a big deal. I have never played a single Witcher game. I don't know. I know it's going to be a big deal. It looks cool from what they showed, and briefly vaguely what I know about the series, about the different characters, about what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. It seems pretty cool. I have very little interest in the game, so I don't know. It's cool that this was one. This was one that I think was leaked a while ago that they were working on it. So it's not really a big surprise that they would announce it, but they actually have like an actual announcement for it and everything. So that is good for that as well. Another one that is very notable might actually be one that I end up getting. They said that they're From Software, I believe, said that they were done with making content for Elden Ring. It was kind of true and kind of a lie, because one of the announcements they have is for Elden Ring Night Rain. Now, what makes this different, it's kind of a lie because it's Elden Ring, obviously, but it's kind of not a lie because it's a standalone game. It's separate from normal Elden Ring. And what's really cool about it is that it's co-op, like built-in co-op. With the normal version of Elden Ring, you had to have a mod to do seamless co-op, which just somehow kind of worked. And otherwise, the co-op system was kind of odd. But so this is a standalone co-op game in the world of Elden Ring. From what I've seen or what I've read up here, it's a smaller map. It's not as expansive of a map. It's basically just the Limgrave area, the kind of starting area of the Elden Ring map. But it's different bosses. It's a different kind of adventure, and you can play with. It says game will let players team up with up to 2 friends and explore a condensed map of Elden Ring's Limgrave area. Random enemies and structures at the start of each session. So it's going to be a different style of game. It's still going to be a Souls-like and such, but it's going to be co-op standalone set in the Elden Ring world, which is kind of cool. Another game that I'm really excited about that was announced is it's actually I don't know if it's actually from Telltale, but it's at least a Telltale-like story game called Dispatch. This one sounds really funny, actually. It seems really funny. It's a narrative, dialogue driven game called Dispatch. Has a lot of stars in it, some of which I don't care about, some of which I do. Like it has Aaron Paul, it has Laura Bailey, it has Jacksepticeye, Matt Mercer, bunch of other different people in there. And the concept behind this is you're playing from the role of someone named Robert Robertson, who is otherwise known as Mecha Man in this superhero world. There's superheroes all over the place. And he's basically retired from superhero work because his mech suit is destroyed by his rival. And he doesn't entirely leave the business, though. He ends up becoming a dispatcher for he gets sent to the dispatch center, which is the center that contacts all of these different superheroes and dispatches them to these different crises around the city. So it's going to be a lot of decision making about, it's like, okay, what kind of crisis is this? What would be the best superhero to send over there, and how that choice affects the rest of the game. It seems really funny just from the trailer that they show on there. I'm actually kind of excited about this one. This one actually sounds pretty funny to me. They announced a new Outer Worlds game, which it seems pretty funny, just like the first one. I haven't played the first one. I do own it. Was at one point was one of the free games on Epic, so I do have that in my library. I just haven't gotten to it. A couple other things that I'm really excited for, like ridiculously excited for. So they showed the creators of It Takes Two, which is still, even to this day, arguably one of the best co-op experiences you can have in a game. They're making a new co-op adventure game called Split Fiction. And the trailer that they showed is these two authors are trying to get published by this publisher. And but one thing that they have that's kind of unique is they have these simulators that you can go into where it simulates your stories. Well, an accident happens. Two of these people end up in the same simulation. So they have to try to figure out how to get out of the simulation by beating the various worlds, except one is a sci-fi writer, one is a fantasy writer. So you have to kind of you switch between these two worlds as you continue on, and each of them have different mechanics. And even though the individual characters have different mechanics within the same sections, which is one of the reasons why It Takes Two was so well done. It was so good, was because they have those abilities for the different characters that are completely different but coincide with each other or complement each other. So they're going to do that again with this Split Fiction game, which looks really cool. Excuse me. Oh, I'm really looking forward to, I've already talked with Jess about this, and once this comes out, we're going to be playing it at some point. Has a release date of March 6th of next year. So not that long from now, we're going to be able to play this game. Really looking forward to it. Really seems like a lot of fun. Another game announcement that I am so excited for. Oh, I cannot explain how excited I am for this. We finally have a release date for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC. I'm so excited for this. Ever since I saw the Final Fantasy VII remake, I've wanted to play this. I've wanted to play this series. I've beaten the Final Fantasy VII Intergrade on PC. I've beaten that, at least the cloud section of it, whatnot. I haven't gone to the Yuffie section of it. But I've ever since then, and this was released, I've wanted to play this, but it's been a PS5 exclusive since its release, and now we have an official PC release date for it, and I'm super excited about it. It's January 23rd. So in literally just over a month, we'll be able to get this on PC. And I have somehow somehow managed to avoid spoilers. Like I've seen, or like I know what happened in the original, but the remake, I don't know if they're sticking that close to the story or if they are changing it up. So I would not be surprised either way, but I have avoided spoilers this entire time. Oh, and I have a feeling that one of the reasons why I've avoided so many spoilers is because they just kind of, the spoilers got kind of covered up by Tifa in a bikini. So cool. But I'm super excited to play this finally on PC next month. Oh, Borderlands 4, that got announced. I fell off after Borderlands 2. I never played 3 because it didn't seem quite as good, as it wasn't as highly regarded as the first two. So cool. I kind of lost interest. Trying to think of trying to look at some of these other ones where I've lost interest in, or like they're making a 2D side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden game called Ragebound. And honestly, I probably couldn't care less about this. I'm actually kind of baffled why Ninja Gaiden was so highly regarded, because I remember back in I think the original Xbox era, I tried to play Ninja Gaiden and hated every moment of it, because not because it was difficult, but because the camera was garbage. I wasn't fighting the enemies, I was fighting the camera. And I got played for about half an hour, turned it off, and never went back. So for fans of Ninja Gaiden, cool. There's that. Yeah, it's coming out. There's a couple other remakes and sequels and stuff like that. Another one I'm really excited about is Slay the Spire got an official gameplay trailer. The previous trailer was just an announcement trailer. This is an actual gameplay trailer, and it looks faithful to the original, but advancing the graphics. It actually has animation and pretty good art in it. So I'm still so super excited about Slay the Spire 2. They did not release a date, just that it's going to be early access sometime next year. But again, I'm just very excited. Still, Slay the Spire is still one of my go-to favorite games ever. So to see them get this sequel, I'm really excited about. Oh, Pal World's getting an expansion called Faybreak. Dave the Diver is getting an expansion called In the Jungle. Sometime it says coming out late next year, so we still got a lot of time of that. A couple other here and there's. One that kind of intrigued me is so there's a anthology series out, similar in the same vein as Love, Death and Robots, called Secret Level, and that's recently come out. And one of them is titled for Pac-Man. It's a short for Pac-Man, and it's dark and really creepy. So I'm not entirely sure which came first, but if you go out and you watch the Pac-Man episode of Secret Level, there's going to be a game of that called Shadow Labyrinth. I don't know which came first, whether it was the game that inspired the short or if it was the short that inspired the game, but there's going to be a game of it. And it's a very dark and ominous, like Metroidvania style Pac-Man game. And it just looks creepy. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be going to that one or not, but it's going to be there. And there's still more announcements on here that honestly just basically most of the rest of these I don't really have a whole lot of interest in. They're either games that I haven't played or are just unfamiliar with. Like the big kind of capstone trailer announcement that they had was from, is it Rocksteady? Not Naughty Dog. they're releasing a game called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, and that was kind of their capstone uh, trailer announcement for the night. And I have no idea if this was a thing beforehand, or it. To me, uh, it looked like uh, sponsorship the game, basically, because like it's in space and the spaceship you're driving has a giant Porsche logo on the back of it. And, you have Adidas sneakers. Uh, you have a Sony uh, radio in the ship and stuff like that. It just seems like, okay, we're just like this is just product placement the game, and it did not interest me at all. And like I don't know if this was a thing or like a leaked thing or whatever. It just doesn't interest me at all. And I'm kind of unsure why this was the big trailer at the end of the game or at the end of the awards. It just seemed kind of weird to me. But those are like a lot of the big titles and such that were talked about. Uh, and like if I had to pick a couple titles out of here that I'm most excited about, it's Split Fiction and it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Those are the ones that I'm probably uh, the most excited for is those two, and some like a couple of the other ones that are going to be kind of cool. Like I'm looking forward to the Elden Ring one. Might try that out with friends. I'm looking forward to Dispatch. That seems like a really funny story to play through. Uh, Most of the rest of the stuff is okay. That's kind of cool, or between okay, that's cool, and I honestly don't care. Uh, so those are like what's been announced. Those are the big announcements for that they had during the show. Now, for the actual presentation of the show, uh, I think this year the presentation itself was better than in past years. We didn't have any sort of mysterious person going on the stage when they weren't supposed to. Uh, there were a couple of moments where it's like they had Stadler and Waldorf uh, heckling people on the show and stuff like that, and I could have done without that. I mean, it was kind of good filler. At whatever it that was kind of cringy at times, but they had that because why not? Um, a couple of the announcers, like, they had of course, because they have to have their over the hill celebrity checkbox checked. They carted out Harrison Ford onto stage when they were talking about Indiana Jones. They mentioned Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. They had Harrison Ford come out and present the award and everything, and he looked either confused or couldn't read the teleprompter or whatnot. Thankfully, he was only out for a few minutes, so which is probably all they could afford from him, and B, like all his needs could take. Uh, yeah, so that was a thing. Uh, and but there were a couple cringy moments, but otherwise, I think the presentation was really good. There was one moment early on that was just a little bit of confusion. I don't remember what his name is because I'm terrible with names. But the father of the PlayStation was there, and Jeff Keighley mentions him, and for whatever reason, he thought he was supposed to come up on stage. So he stands up, starts walking off towards the stage, and it's like they cut away. It's like, no, go back to your seat, type of situation. It's like, no, we don't want to talk to you. We just wanted to say hi, basically. So a little bit of confusion there, but that wasn't really that big of a deal. Uh, but there was some good call outs. There was some good, a little bit of good talk about the layoffs and at least keeping that in people's minds because these are important subjects. In fact, one of the awards that they had was let's see, it was the first time they had what's called the Game Changers Award, and it went to I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Amir Satvat, who built up this whole system that people could access who were laid off from game development and give them resources for like, okay, these are listings for new game developers. You know, he's doing a lot of good work to help people in the game developing community, and that's an important thing to address because there's still a lot of layoffs that have been going on, and just that's the unfortunate thing that sucks about this kind of business is you hire people for when you have the feast, but you fire them when you have the famine. Oh, I mean, that's just unfortunately part of the business, which sucks. But it's good to see someone who took it upon themselves to help people in the game developing community. And glad that he was recognized. Glad that this subject is still being recognized, even if it's in a little bit of PR speak during the presentation. And we had a couple F-bombs from the lead of the It Takes Two team, whose name I don't remember. But yeah, he came out to talk about Split Fiction. I think he gave an award as well. I don't remember which one. But yeah, he dropped two F-bombs within like 5 seconds of each other. And he was only on stage for less than a minute. So, and he was apparently known for this. So this is not necessarily unexpected. But so we had his F-bombs during the show. And I think when it came to the best presenter, well, there's a couple of the presenters I thought was really well done. Was Sam Lake came on for best narrative, I believe it was, and he comes out and it goes to a camera and it goes black and white and it has this voiceover like noir style of like what he's doing on stage, and I thought it was I thought it was actually pretty well done. I thought that was really funny, especially since because he's known for Sam Lake is part of not Respawn, Remedy, yeah, and they made Max Payne, they made Alan Wake, and so those narrative games, and I thought that was a really funny way of having him on stage and introduce the games. And I think another one that was very impactful was for Game of the Year. I don't remember his name again because I'm terrible with names. But the lead developer for Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian, because they won Game of the Year last year, they had him come back as the presenter for this year. And he addressed some pretty big points in the gaming community that, you got to stop. Like, if you want your game to succeed, stop making the game in a boardroom. Stop trying to cater to the money men, to stop trying to appease them. If you want a game to succeed, make it a passion for your developers, make it good for the consumers, make it a fun game. It went into a lot more eloquent way of saying these things, but it was a really good message that he was presenting. And I don't know if that was entirely his whole thing or if he just went off script or whatnot. I don't know, but I think it was a very important message to be heard. And I think that was a good timing for that one as well, being kind of the capstone award of the night, being the last presenter of the night, and addressing more of these issues in the gaming development sphere. And I think the last thing I can really say about the presentation was Flute Guy was back. He was jamming out like always. Since he kind of Fluke was shown a couple of years ago, he's been kind of a mainstay, and people are like, is he coming back? Is he coming back? Because he just has this excitement that you don't see in a lot of these things anymore. And just brings that joy and happiness back into gaming through the music that they play. And the fact that he can just every time they cut to him, he's playing a different instrument. He's never playing the same instrument for more than 4 seconds, it seems like. And he's playing 28 instruments. Guy's phenomenal, and he's brings so much good energy to the show. So I'm glad to see him back. That's been like a couple people in our community have like asked, like, okay, that's cool. Is Flute Guy coming back? Is he going to be there? It's like, yes, he is. They have already confirmed that. But I thought that was fun too. Overall, I thought this was actually a pretty good show this year, especially compared to past years where we've had people go on to stage that weren't supposed to be there, or just kind of cringy segments and stuff. This was actually pretty good presentation, pretty good announcements, good awards themselves. I think they are starting to learn. I'm glad that they cut the Hideo Kojima part down this year. They still they still had him on stage for a little bit, but it was only a couple minutes rather than like, okay, we're going to devote half an hour to this awards ceremony to fanboying over Hideo Kojima's stuff. Considering he doesn't have anything coming out like soon. So I think Death Stranding 2 is supposed to be coming out, but it's like, I don't know when. That's another game that I don't care about. I understand that Hideo Kojima is a big auteur in the gamosphere, but honestly, there's not a game that he's made that I've actually cared about. That probably makes me a terrible person, but that's just the case. It's like I don't really care about Metal Gear Solid. I don't care about Death Stranding. I don't care. These games seem boring to me. But whatever. That's just me. But yeah, bottom line, I think the show this year was pretty good. I liked a lot of the announcements. They also had some advertisements just kind of remind people that, hey, these games are coming out. Like Mecha Break, I think just looks phenomenal. There's also, was it Steel Hunters? Steel Hunters is, imagine taking World of Tanks and all of those offshoots and making it mechs. So they're taking that expertise with making these realistic vehicles and stuff like that, and they're turning it into mechs. So that actually looks really cool. We'll see how it is further in development, but that seems like a really cool series, and it's gonna be free to play, so might be worth a shot later on when it comes out. But yeah, some stuff like that. The announcements were good. The awards are good. The presentation was good. Overall, I thought this was a really good show. If you haven't seen it, it's on VODs, so you can go find it there as well and watch through it. As well as you can, I just Googled, Game Awards 2024 winners and announcements and stuff like that, and found a list of all this stuff. So overall, I thought it was a good show. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Yeah. So this is our last show of the year. We're not going to be back until beginning of January. So we're going to be taking the next couple weeks. I'm going to be off from work between Christmas and New Year's. So I've been trying to compile a list of things I want to try to, improve in the show. So hopefully beginning of next year, we'll have some of these improvements in place and be able to continue on with the show. We'll keep everyone updated on what our subject is for next month. I have an idea of what I want to do, but I have to talk with my co-host, get everything squared away there. But everyone, if you like what you've heard and like to help us out, you can give us a review over on Apple Podcasts. You can follow my Twitch and or YouTube channels for our live recordings Sunday nights starting at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. That's when we start Tech Check. We start the show proper at 9:30 Eastern Time. Or you can become one of our patrons over at patreon.com/ptgcast. If you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com. Or more directly, you can join our Discord channel. You can find links to all these things on my website using the link bit.ly/CI Productions. Everyone, thank you for listening again. There's a giant bug flying around my desk. Anyway, yeah, I'm Sean. You can find the show, the rest of my work, links to my socials, including the Discord channel, Twitch, and YouTube channels, and the Apple Podcast listing, using the link I already mentioned out of order, bit.ly/CI Productions. You can find all of Ember's work at 9of12.com, NINEOF12.com. You can find Theo's work over at swellcast.com/thatoneweirdo and rabbitinredradio.com. Yeah, like I said, we'll be back next month. Yeah, hopefully things will be improved, and we'll have a bunch of smiling faces to look at. Everyone, until next time, until next year, we are the part-time gamers clocking out.